I think we're probably in good shape to go ahead and get started. Looks like we've got a good amount of folks this morning, so I appreciate you all being here with us. So we've been doing these Insight series webinars for a couple of months now, and we're up to about episode 5 or 6, maybe 4 or 5, something like that. But these have been good each month. I think they've been going real smooth for us, and they've been helpful. We've had some good feedback, some good question and answer sessions at the end of our time each month. So I'm looking forward to that again. This month, we're going to go ahead and dive in. This month's topic is going to be the Agility ONTAP solution. And when we talk about ONTAP at Agility, we are referring to our hosted solution, or basically our cloud solution that we have available for you guys to take advantage of in terms of a phone system connection. So we'll be talking about this morning the differences between phone systems that are on site at your office versus systems that are connected to our cloud solution. So let's go ahead and jump in. I do want to remind everybody of our website that we have available, agilitycg.com, and we have our list of events there that are available for you guys to take a look at. And any future webinars that we have scheduled should be listed there for you guys. And if you have anything that is not listed there, anything that you think should be a good topic for us to discuss, you can always let us know about that. Certainly our scheduled events are not exhaustive, so just let us know if there's anything that would be of interest to you, and we can discuss that and see if we can get that worked into our agenda. So that's the website. Support questions and concerns, obviously, you can always send those over to us, support@agilitycg.com. We also have support contracts available, which include free upgrade licenses. So just that is a keep in mind item. You can let us know about any of those needs at info@agilitycg.com. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in this morning. I appreciate you guys being here. In way of topic, the thing we're going to be spending most of our time on this morning is going to be the benefits of a hosted or a cloud-based phone system. We're going to discuss the differences, and we're going to discuss the advantages. And the one thing, just in way of kind of a disclaimer, we're not really going to be spending a whole lot of time on the technical side of how our ONTAP solution works. I am happy to take those questions. I certainly don't want to dissuade anyone from asking specific questions or any unique concerns that someone may have in terms of, going ahead and jumping onto the ONTAP solution. Certainly, I want to encourage you to do that. That's the purpose of our time this morning. But anything that's on a more of a technical side, I'll probably need to pass that along to our architects. But that's just kind of an FYI item. Obviously, if it's an answer I'm able to give to you, I'll certainly do that. And if it's something outside my skill set, then we'll certainly collaborate on that internally and get back with you on a good answer for any issues you may be having, concerns that you have. But primarily, we'll be talking today about how Agility can help you solve really a laundry list of business pitfalls by implementing our hosted solution. And then finally, we're going to open up things for a question and answer at the close of our time. Certainly feel free to send those questions over whenever they come to you, but I'll probably be addressing them at the end of our session today. So let's go ahead and jump in here. So phone system schools of thought. Obviously, we're going to be talking about on-site versus off-site phone system solutions. So let's go ahead and start with the on-site stuff. On-site phone systems are exactly how they sound. We've got a phone system that's going to be on-site with you at your office or in your building. The hardware for that system is going to be there with you. The software is probably installed on somebody's computer or on a server. And you guys are really the first line of troubleshooting when it comes to any issues that you're experiencing. There's probably someone on site that's been trained, an on-site employee or maybe a technician that's on your payroll that has a little bit of training or knowledge on how to deal with lower level stuff, anything not super specific to the phone world. But the phone system itself can have a total cost of ownership that's a little bit, I guess, deceiving is kind of a word. I think it's a fair comparison to talk about maybe the idea of an iceberg, right? There's a lot of stuff going on the surface level of a phone system, but sometimes there's things in the background like security and maintenance and upgrades, services that have to be provided to the phone system that maybe folks on site and even an IT company is not always, or an IT professional is not always properly equipped to necessarily deal with those issues. But historically, phone systems are changing, right? Let's talk about how things have improved from the on-site phone system to where we're kind of slowly moving this morning with our discussion. Phone systems used to mean bulky equipment like you see here, something that comes to your location from a phone technician, a bulky piece of equipment that gets mounted onto a wall, usually in a corner closet that most folks are scared to open the door to. You know, a big cabling mess like you see here was pretty typical, and sometimes even a phone provider technician would have to come on site and maybe even climb a telephone pole to get a hardline connection from the central office of the provider over to your building and to your location. Well, the good thing is in 2018 is that this is simply not the case anymore. So we're going to discuss a few scenarios here to get things started, scenarios that maybe even your business has experienced. And the question behind all these scenarios, something our good friend William Shakespeare asked once upon a time, to cloud or not to cloud, right? I'm pretty sure that's not his exact question, but it works for our purposes this morning. So if your business is growing and your business is changing, and I hope that it is, if your business is going through some of these things, and maybe you want to open new locations or new territories, or maybe you want to throw some sales folks out into the field, well, there's some challenges that you want to keep in mind that businesses will face when it comes to managing phone system users that are not located in the same office space with the phone system itself. You know, moves, adds, and changes to your phone system are a little bit challenging when, like I say, the user and the system are not in the same physical place. If you're going to open a new office, that's a great thing as well, you know, expanding your territory. But there's some things that you need to buckle up for and keep in mind when opening a new office. You're going to need to contact a provider. That provider is going to turn around and put you on a wait list for a circuit turnup, right? They're going to schedule time for a technician to come on site should that be needed. And quite frankly, this is all that's, you know, time that's wasted while you're not making money in that new area. Putting remote workers into place, you know, if you want to talk about reducing overhead costs for your office space, maybe putting some folks back in their homes to work remotely is a good idea. It might be a good solution. Well, how are they going to work once they're home? Are they going to use home phones? Are they going to use cell phones with phone numbers that are not even tied to your business? These are all just questions to be keeping in mind. And quite frankly, they're problems that Agility with ONTAP, we can solve those problems for you with the hosted solution that we have to offer. The system is going to grow with you, right? It's going to be there when your business moves. The system is going to be there when your business grows as well. So that's the advantage of a cloud solution. Let's talk about some trends. Today's enterprise workforce is now more mobile than any other time in history. And really this trend became a majority around 2012 or 2013, and it's continued to where we are today. In fact, recent labor trend surveys have shown that 3 out of 5 workers feel they don't even need to be in an office in order to maintain their levels of productivity. I mean, that's 60% of people that feel, I don't need to get in the car in the morning and drive to work. I can just stay home and do what I do. So the important question as business owners and managers that we need to ask is, what is it that my workers do need? If they feel they don't need to be in the office, and yet while they're at home or while they're at a remote location, they're still maintaining a good level of productivity, you know, clearly that's a good employee, that's a good asset. But what does that person need? What do my workers need if they're not going to be coming into the office? So that's the main driving question behind a cloud solution and how it's designed. And if it's designed well, then it's going to be a wonderful asset for your company, and it's going to be designed for good business success. Let's talk about what happened with phone systems before the cloud system era, right? If you see here, a lot of folks would have messy cable rooms on their premise, and before the era of cloud system, businesses typically spent time managing their servers, managing backup tapes, as you see here. Multiple networks had to be managed with connections to the wall, PRIs and T1s, battery backup systems, really a lot of complicated things that require that have a lot of diverse requirements just by their nature. And that's why the wisdom of the cloud makes so much sense. So let's talk about that. Let's move away from the idea of what we used to do. Let's talk about what makes sense today. And the reason that it makes sense, right? The wisdom of the cloud is kind of twofold. Cost savings and time savings are kind of tied together, as well as flexibility and features. So I'm going to pair those together and we'll talk about those. Cost and time. this is as old as anything, right? Time is money. So cost and time are very closely related. With a phone system in the cloud, reducing management, avoiding any kind of on-site deployment, and then embracing the idea of plug and play, all those are really, really attractive ideas. When it comes to your daily office routine, it kind of feels like this sometimes when you look at this picture, just a juggling act of tons of different items that are all interrelated and equally stressful, right? So sometimes it feels like maybe if we could clone ourselves or somehow grow 8 arms, that things would be easier for us. But really, if we could talk about a phone system in the cloud, we would talk about things like reducing IT costs, reducing management, removing the attention that your IT team has to focus on the phone system, and it frees them up to manage other things, right? It helps them have time to work on the email server, or to work on different things that are going on inside the business internally. So if there's no technician on site installing bulky equipment, then there's no more need for installation fees or trip charges. There's no truck that's going to be rolled to your site to install bulky equipment or to run cables, right? All that stuff is out the window with a cloud solution. Your monthly phone bill becomes very predictable. Why? Because you're just going to pay for what you use. It makes the most sense to pay for what you use. Plug and play is really where you want to be, right? The phone systems these days can be typically deployed within hours or days when it comes to a cloud solution, whereas the lead time for a phone system circuit used to be weeks and months. No service provider is going to have to come on site with their bulky equipment or cabling to run, and the cloud system, therefore, is going to be much closer to plug and play than an on-premise system would be. Setup time and maintenance is reduced because no specialized IT staff has to come on site with your office and put their hands on things. We can do some on-premise employee training so that folks have the ability to manage some internal phone system preferences. But by and large, what you see here on this picture that I've created is you're just going to plug and play, connect to Agility, and sit back and use your stuff, right? Any issues that come up, you call Agility. Any problems or designs or changes, give Agility a call, shoot us an email. You can even ask for me if you want to, and we'll be happy to drop what we're doing and help you guys out, because the ONTAP solution is really a pleasure to manage because of the way that it's designed. Let's talk about flexibility. So flexibility by its nature has some of these items built into it. Scalability, right? Moving up and moving down, adding people and removing people. Mobility, instead of moving up and down, moving out. Being mobile and being able to take your stuff with you, being able to do your BYOD, or bring your own device and just use it wherever you go. And also advanced system features that used to be available exclusively to enterprise businesses. The big corporations were the ones that had the super fancy phone system features, and that's just not true anymore. So let's talk about some of those things. Scaling up and down can be customized to your business, which is great. For example, if you happen to be a seasonal business, I have a very close friend who is a tax and accounting guy, right? A tax firm is really only going to be busy from like January to May, right? And he's a manager at one of these accounting firms, and the more users that they need, the more folks they can add from like January to May. So therefore, your phone system costs are going to be reduced during the time of the year that those extra seats are not needed. So really, the thing that makes the most sense is to just pay for what you use. If you need more agents, if you need to move someone to a supervisor position, maybe adjust your settings, all those types of things can be tweaked remotely with just a simple email or even a phone call. Mobility and flexibility, Agility ONTAP really caters to small and medium businesses, because folks that have a distributed workforce or remote workers, they can benefit from connecting to the cloud because we're eliminating the need for phone lines, right? We're routing all of our traffic over the public internet. ONTAP is perfect for remote workers, specifically because of a solution that came out this past spring in 2018. AVAYA released an application called Equinox, and we've talked about that in some of our previous webinars. It's a wonderfully designed application because it perfectly emulates a desk phone, and that desk phone is no longer a physical device on your desk. It actually lives and breathes either on your desktop, on your PC, or you can actually download a version of the application for your smartphone. And the great thing about this application called Equinox is that when I place an outbound phone call, folks are going to see my business number. They're not going to see my personal number. So that's a challenge that used to exist when folks would work remotely, is sometimes business and personal information would get crossways, and you don't necessarily want that. I know that I've worked with folks like doctors before who would have to call patients, and they would have to do it when they weren't necessarily at their office. Well, with something like Equinox tied back to ONTAP with Agility, then you can make these outbound phone calls and not have to worry about the number that someone who is receiving your call. You don't have to worry about the number they're going to see. They're going to see your business number, which is fantastic. Accessibility. You can access the phone system anywhere you have an internet connection. Gone are the days of having to worry about a provider phone line. And quite frankly, it makes Agility's job easier as well, because our team can manage these multiple site locations much more simply because of the way that they all tie together back at our location, at our servers. System features, in terms of the AVAYA Cloud, enterprise technology features are now available for small and medium businesses at very affordable costs. Things like conferencing, call reporting, advanced call routing, things that used to only be available to the big guys. Well, that playing field is now level, and we can all kind of do the same kind of stuff, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg to do it. All that kind of stuff is designed right into the Agility phone system and the ONTAP solution that we have available for you guys. So that's what I've got for you guys this morning. I wanted to keep this nice and concise and to the point, and hopefully encourage some of y'all to get this conversation going internally, where you live and where you breathe, and the things that you do. Hopefully some of this stuff might make some logical sense for you in terms of where to gear your phone system and where things can be most advantageous for you. And I want to really encourage you and remind you that Agility, we live and breathe this stuff. It's what we do. We see these kinds of issues and requests dozens of times a week, and there's nothing too scary or too over our heads in terms of design. So please, if there's any questions that we have, I'm happy to move into our Q&A time now. I want to make sure and put this stuff up on the screen here. My email address is there. If you guys have any questions maybe later in the day that come to you and you want to shoot something over to me specifically, my contact information is right there, as well as our other Agility contact portals. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and start our Q&A session. And if you guys have anything you want to send over to me, I'm happy to hang out here in the queue in the webinar and take those questions from you guys. So I appreciate you all being here, and I'm glad that we got to have this discussion. Let's see here. Joe looks like he's got a question. Okay, so Joe has a really good question here for the group. Joe is asking, what about fax numbers? Do fax numbers require separate analog lines? That's a really good question. Joe, what we typically do is we can do one or the other. Some folks still want to have a dedicated analog or a dedicated copper line for their fax machine. And if they choose to go that route, then that fax line is going to be separate and outside of the phone system, typically. It's what we call a dedicated number. So if we go that route and we do a dedicated number, that's fine. If we want to use the fax number and port that fax number into the ONTAP solution, then we have a web-based faxing solution that's built in, and we will use that fax number as a method to get you your faxes through an email portal. So rather than doing a traditional printout where you go over to a fax machine and pick up your faxes, you're going to get that fax number is going to be trunked into the ONTAP solution, and your faxes will then come to an online portal, and you can get them emailed to you. Okay, another good question here. And this is more of a design question, so I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Question is, when you say that you can access the phone system anywhere you have internet access, does that mean that Wi-Fi can be used as the internet access, or could you access the phone system from the data of your mobile phone? So usually the stronger the connection, the better you're going to be, right? You don't necessarily want to be talking to your phone system on a Wi-Fi connection, or certainly maybe not a hotspot. That's not to say it's not doable. I certainly have used my cell phone hotspot in a pinch, but it's just kind of one of those things where if you have a better connection, you're going to have a better experience in terms of voice quality and those types of things. But if you usually, when we do a phone system deployment, for the ONTAP solution, we're going to also do a network survey and determine what kind of bandwidth the network has, and also talk about the number of remote workers and what types of connections they have at their residence. So that is something that we take into consideration. Joe has another good question here. If I have an on-premise AVAYA solution right now today, will that configuration get ported to the ONTAP solution? So Joe, what I assume you're meaning is, can you use your existing phones? The answer is yes. Can folks keep their existing extension numbers and phone numbers? The answer is yes. So really and truly, there's not too much on your existing solution in terms of an AVAYA solution, but not much is going to change. Really, it's just going to be the way in which we manage the system for you and the location of the hardware. Keep the questions coming, guys. This is my favorite part of our webinar series. I learn a lot from you guys each month. So Joe has another good question here. If he has a series of open phone stations, some locations where there's a phone but nobody's necessarily logged in, they're really just used for visitors that might show up to work at the office for the day. Joe is wanting to know, do we have to pay for each of those licenses or each of those seats, even if they're not being used regularly? And I want to say the answer is no, and I'm 90% on that, Joe. The answer usually is the advantage, obviously, of the phone system is that you can pay for what you use. So if you've got some empty seats and they're not being used for 3/4 of the year, then we can just fire up those licenses and fire up those seats whenever you actually feel like you need them. If there's no other questions, I'm going to wish you guys a happy rest of your Wednesday, and we will talk to you next time with the Agility Insight series. Take care.